Hi everyone. A few of you have asked about the explanation of total variance explained, and I'm going to try and do that. Keep in mind that when you set up your EFA, you entered a number of different settings for SPSS to consider as it ran the EFA. One of those was that you wanted 3 factors unless you played with it and set a different number. And another one was that you wanted to look for the factor loading at 0.3 or above, and that kept your results easier to read when you looked at your rotated factor matrix. When you look at the total variance explained table, what this is going to do, but what we're trying to, in general, when we talk about variance explained, is we want to say there's going to be in these items that people answered, we've got a mean in these data. So here's our descriptive statistics. We've got a mean for motivation of 2.96 on a scale that ranges from 1 to 7. Not everybody answered 2.96. As a matter of fact, they only had a choice of 1 through 7. So there was variance in the responses. And that might be the way they read the question. That might be what kind of mood they're in today. That might be that they're tired of answering questions. It could be explained by anything. And so what we want to know is if we're looking at a category of their perception of motivation, for instance, how much of the variance can we say in those responses is actually explained by that idea of a perception of motivation, and then how much is just, who knows, something else. So anytime that we're looking at a scale, we're trying to say we can be confident that X% of the variance can be explained by these factors. So we have 3 factors here that have been identified in this variance explanation. It's only going to look at the top 3 eigenvalues generally above 1. So if we could have said 4. And so we've got eigenvalues above 1. We set a maximum of 3, so that's why it's giving us these top 3. When we look at the percentage of variance, what this is trying to do is give us an average within each of those factors, 1 and 2 and 3, of what the spread is. That's what variance is, how far it is from the mean. And then you look at the loadings, but the bottom line here is this cumulative, right? So we want to say 21% of the variance can be explained in the motivation, if that's factor 1, by the responses. Here's motivation, and then we can look at the second factor and the third factor. So we've got an additive. So we've got 21 plus 16 plus 12. Greatest one is always on the top. And then the total variance here is 50. So 50% of the differences in these scores can be explained by these 3 factors. 1, 2, 3. Just chew on that for a little bit. When we get to what we're trying to say is, does this outcome really tell us anything? Is the size of the effect or the cumulative loading enough to tell us there's something to be explained here, or is it just happenstance? That's what it's all about, is that confidence that we're actually seeing something. And at 50% of the variance explained, that's a pretty strong finding. All right, I hope that helped.